Viskrit Bharat, the vision for 2047, that's 100 years of independence.
So Europeans are gone. To be honest, I'm proud to be an Indian always.
Don't think we are going to have more of the same in the next 20-25 years. I think that things are going to change significantly from the quality and the type of workforce that is required.
65% of our population is below 35 years and the median is around how much 28 to 30 years, right? So we have a huge opportunity, and this opportunity is no other country has in the world, right? Now what we need we need a proper direction.
Very interesting program that we run called Are You Future Ready? And this is a program that is only for faculty.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for making to the evening, and the topic what we will be discussing will be quite interesting, and which is something which everyone should be aware of. The Viskrit Bharat, the vision for 2047, that's 100 years of independence. And the people who are sitting on the panel will definitely make justice for this topic, and there's a lot of insights for each of us to take from this. Right, so skill development and education, strengthening education systems and focusing on 21st century skills like digital literacy, critical thinking and innovation to equip the workforce for emerging industries. Right, so let us hear from the panelists. Rudashankar sir, how can you see India harness its democratic dividend and to build a globally competitive and skilled workforce?
Okay, I think the panel starts with me, like that's what. And I'm still a learner, to be honest. Among all the educationalists, all the educators who are here, I am still a student, sir. So I was hearing all those followers of the industry, where actually you start from here, right? Whatever today we are, because of the institutions that taught us, right? Whether we studied here or abroad, wherever it is, a due respect should be given to the educators who are actually giving us this platform today. I think a big hand for all the educators sitting out there. And we, the students, will remain and will try to contribute. Now, coming back to the point of view that you want to share, I think India is a very diversified culture, right? And what we have learned, it is not about only book and study, right? It is about the human values, which is whatever you are going on for a digitization, bringing a different kind of platform in the education, different way of learnings, the human values will remain as it was. From the Vedic days, I think we are the innovators, as well as we are leading the various things from the front, right? And we should be proud as an Indian. And coming in terms of the 2047, right? The centenary year of our independence, will change a lot, because we have been moving from the Zen Z to Zen Alpha to Zen Gamma, whatever, the way that we can see the next generations, right? But one thing what we were learning is the same way that we have learned in past, only the nomenclatures are getting changed, right? The application will remain same. You talk about robotics, you talk about AI, you talk about quantum. Don't you think that we have not learned this before? We have learned, but now the learning has been little smarter way of learning, right? That's what I can see. And the generations are like instant. They want everything ready to eat, ready to cook, ready to deliver. They don't have time. They don't have time to read books. They only know, okay, I have to go for Google. I have to do this search engine. I play these things. I do these things. Very instant culture that is getting developed. And in this culture, I think we should reskill them, upskill them, and to have an interface with the industry. I strongly believe that the industry-academia connection has to be established in a very firm way in India. That's a pretty, I would not say it is a gap, but we are in the learning curve of that. Because when we all graduated, I mean to say, I'm talking of the Ram sir, he's a mentor for many people for us, right? I mean to say, when we all graduated, we hardly had any industry connects. We were struggling to understand what industry is looking from the institutions. Now that is there. Why can't you guys be a catalyst to help them connect with the industry, with the academia, and that's what we can have a Bikshit Bharat transformation.
Thank you, sir, for that. So we heard from someone who has been working with a major IT firm, and he has immense of experience. So let's hear it from the entrepreneurs now. Srikanth, sir, what's your take on this?
So, yeah, good evening, first of all. Thanks for having me here. I actually think a little differently. I don't think we are going to have more of the same in the next 20-25 years. I think that things are going to change significantly from the quality and the type of workforce that is required. What has worked for the last 50, 70 years is surely not going to work in the next 20, 30 years. That much is guaranteed. Because of the following reasons. I think while we have dabbled with robotics and AI and these catchphrases earlier, I think this time what we have managed to build, or what technologists have managed to build, is a fundamentally different technology than what we have had earlier. I do feel that repetitive tasks in any field, be it sales, be it marketing, be it even creative development. So repetitive tasks in that are going to be not done by humans in the near future. I think what we need to equip our students for the next 10, 20 years is more of critical thinking ability, which actually, frankly, today we don't teach them at all. And less of doing repetitive tasks. It's going to be like, why should I learn it? I mean, why should I learn what happened in the Battle of Plassey because I can Google it today, kind of thing, right? So that is what I feel. I think we should equip them in the skills that they will need in the future, which broadly is based on decision making, critical thinking, on what is the rights versus the wrongs, and what we would need as a people going forward for the next 20-30 years in our country. I mean, this is applicable globally, but obviously also applicable so much more in our country. So I do very much think that what is going to be required for our workforce to be taught in the next 20 years is very, very different from what we have been teaching so far.
Thanks a lot, Srikanth, sir. Vimal, sir, what's your opinion on this? So, how do you see this? Do you see the same way as Srikanth, sir, considering you both are someone who builds the business?
Yes, I think I completely agree what Srikanth sir has said. But I want to add a few things. First, we need to see in the demographic dividend where we stand currently. So if we see that 65% of our population is below 35 years and the median is around how much 28 to 30 years, right? So we have a huge opportunity, and this opportunity is no other country has in the world, right? Now, what we need now? We need a proper direction, a proper skill to uplift their talent and and train them well, right? Apart from that, the second thing, the first was that. Second thing is, if we want to take advantage of what we currently have, we need to see how we can utilize the women participation in the industry. In the previous panel, we are talking about the women in the workforce, right? In India, it is currently around 30 to 35% the women inclusion in the workforce. In the countries, if you compare countries like Bangladesh, like Indonesia, they have almost 45 to 50, over 50% women are part of the workforce, right? So if you include them, just see how the things will change for the country, right? Now, if we want to change things at scale, right? Definitely we as entrepreneurs playing our role. I'll tell you how we are doing, right? But we need a larger work from government, industry, and there are a lot of educationists here. We need, they also have a great role to play here, right? We all have to work collaboratively to take it to the next level, right? I think the previous discussion, ma'am from Cambridge School were talking about how we can involve students from the colleges to give them industry experience, right? So I'll tell you what we do at Lemon and CoinSwitch, right? We reach out to the colleges, some tech colleges in Bangalore, some colleges across the India, and we hire those students for 6 months internship, and thanks that they provide this opportunity to their students. We onboard them to our organization for last 6 months, like last semester of their course will be an internship to CoinSwitch and Lemon. This is a win-win for both. They are learning and getting ready for the industry from the industry experience point of view, because the education you get from the college and the things you do on the organization is entirely different. So they are learning from us, and we are learning from their passion, their enthusiasm, their creativity, right? So it's working well for both. I just want to tell how we are contributing, and ma'am, if I'm able to answer your question, like we discuss a lot, right? So, but we are doing it at some small level, right? India is a very large country, and if we want to harness the demographic dividend, we have to do the same thing at a very large scale. If we are able to do, definitely we'll able to get maximum out of it. Thank you.
I think so. I was in one of the colleges to visit one of the guests here. So I think Aishwarya, it's the same thing what you were suggesting me quite a week or two back. Right, so now from the leadership team to the entrepreneurs, now moving on to someone who has trained more than 1 lakh entrepreneurs till now. Ram sir, so how do you see this? I mean, what is your opinion? Because you might differ from both, from the leadership and from the entrepreneur side. So you might see it in a very different angle. So what's your opinion on this?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me, Arushut, for being here. It's always a pleasure when you're in the company of friends like Srikanth, Rudra, Vijeta, so many people here that I happen to have worked with. Let me just step back a little bit in terms of time before we try and go forward. I started work, Srikanth, way back in 1980. It was 44 years now. So I'm like a fossil at this point of time. When we started work, there was no phone. And I still remember going out for Crompton Greaves and working in Indore, booking a lightning call and waiting the whole day. Okay? And the call would come sometime in the evening. And sometimes it won't. And my boss would be very upset, saying, why didn't you go early in the morning at 6 and book the call? From there, we've changed so much. We've come to STD, and from STD to STD booths, and now to the phone, and now your smartphones. Everything has changed, right? What has changed, and I think for all you educators out here, what has changed is the technology that is being used. What has not changed is the need for me to get up at 6 o'clock and go and book that call. That has not changed. So I may have the best of phone with me, but what I want to do with this has not changed. So I completely agree with what Srikanth mentioned. What has got us here is not going to get us to 2047. And I think as people in the education field, I sincerely believe that there are 2 or 3 things that we need to do differently. I'm part of you because we work with a lot of institutions like you. Number one, I think as educators, we need to stop being gatekeepers of knowledge. We will never, as people in the education, be able to keep up with all the changes and the technology changes that are happening in the world. But what we can do is we can enable our students to start getting to be curious. And I think that curiosity is slowly but surely getting diminished today as I go around college to college to college. I think we need to get people to become curious again. We need to get back to that curiosity because that I think is something which is very, very important. The second thing I believe that we really need is we need to create a certain amount of vibrancy in our workforce. Okay? I think, and I'm being very harsh with your permission, the rest of the panelists, I think there is a sense of entitlement that has crept in to this demographic dividend that you're talking about on our show. I think we're becoming too used to having everything at your fingertips. And I think that sense of entitlement is making sure that we are no longer a vibrant workforce. I'd like you people to look at that. Curiosity, make them vibrant. And the third, there are far too many people who are absolute clones of each other. And I think we need to bring people, you need to make sure that each individual's uniqueness is brought to the fore. I think we're all so gorgeously unique. But unfortunately, in this cookie cutter approach, we've just become clones of one another. I'll give you a simple point. For one of our clients, I was doing some, after many, many years, I went and did some campus placement interviews. Every single biodata starts with, I am hardworking, positive. I was thinking, I said, oh gosh, if the whole world is full of hardworking, positive people, I think we're in trouble. We're the lazy one. So I think you need to emphasize on uniqueness. So curiosity, make them vibrant and make them unique. Because let me tell you one thing. Srikanth is working at cutting edge technology. HomeLane is an amazing success story. Rudra and IBM are doing some amazing stuff, in terms of what is happening in the world. And if any of you during dinner have time, you must talk to him about Watson and what's happening with that technology completely. So can we predict what will happen tomorrow from technology perspective? Impossible. Impossible. There is just no way anybody can predict what is the future of technology. But irrespective of that future of technology, we will need curious, vibrant, unique individuals to harness that technology. Anushrat, back to you.
Okay, so most of the audience here are from who are educators and who can define the India for next 20-25 years. That is what we are looking at 2047. The next 2 decades is the product of the people who are sitting here. So now, coming to the next question what I have, right? So how can the industry and the institutions, right, bridge the gap, right? So what are the skill set that we can look at? Right? Of course, we had discussed about AI in the previous panel, but how can the education and the employability with the skill development, right? So what are the skills that is required and how can that be developed? So you can take it, please. So Rudra sir is also in the board of various universities. So I think he will have a perspective from the college side and from the corporate side as well, right? So let's start from him as well.
So as I was mentioning, right, in terms of it is more of a supply-demand management side. Let me take it in a different perspective altogether. So any industry works on a very collaborative supply-demand pattern. So for our industry, the supply is coming from the institutions. Unless and until we get a supply of the resources, we cannot execute any projects for our, say, end users. And to get up, and the demand is coming to the institutions from the industry. When we go for the campus hiring, that's a demand that we were producing every year and year basis, right? Now, if we don't understand as a supplier to this industry, what kind of demand is needed, what is my forecasted demand for the next 5 years, 10 years down the line, and what kind of product, because now I'm talking that human being a product. Let's just think in a different way. Like, because we are the enablers. Technology will always play a role of a catalyst, an enabler, right? But the actual executors are the humans. And who is producing those resources? The institutions, all the institutions, right? If you produce the good, I can see that when I was going through filling up, my daughter is in class 12, she's appearing for the board. I saw the tagline I was working out in terms of applying for our engineering. So when I saw everybody is saying, oh, this, my student, they don't talk about what the skills they have. They're talking about the CTC is 50 lakhs. The highest CTC is 50 lakhs. It is not what the industry is looking from you. The payment, the structure, everything depends on your ability and the skills that you have. Because when we hire someone from the institutions, what we were trying to understand from the institution, are they industry ready or not? That's the first question I'm asking to all the educators. When you talk to your students, are they industry ready or not? If they are not an industry ready, how they can survive in the industry? And to make them industry ready, what are the skills that you are helping them to learn? Your structure, when you are doing any course structure or your semester structure, it has to be aligned with the industry. That's what my thought is. And that's what the industry is coming forward, asking for a lot of support from the institutions in terms of how we can co-create and collaborate. So industry should look for some of the aspect in terms of doing as Sir has mentioned, right? So in terms of design thinking, doing a design thinking workshop with the industry and the students, understand exactly what are the parameters are needed, build them to that. So I'm just talking from the IBM as doing I know a lot of institutions have been enrolled into IBM CSR program, which is known as IBM Skills Build. And it is the government of India is also looking forward to those kind of programs, where we were helping with a lot of support as a part of the CSR. We were building up the course structure. We are helping them in terms of getting the certification on the various modules, giving them an understanding what exactly our client wants from the students, right? We were talking to all the government, mostly into the government industries, right? We were talking to the various government people, how to restructure the things in terms of the forecasting models that we have. How many of you have seen the IBM CXO studies? So out of the entire room, only 2 or 3 people might have regularly seeing the IBM CXO strategies. So if you see the IBM CXO studies, we talk to the many CXOs across the world, across the region and the industries. We understand how they are having the difficulties in the execution of their industries and where they want to see in terms of the forecasting. And that CXO studies components are being used now in many institutions, and they're using that to build the skills. So this kind of approaches where we are bridging the gap between the industry and the institutions. because institution has to give us a industry-ready consultant or an industry-ready workforce, which will help to drive the things. Over to you.
Vimal sir, you already answered to this question for the previous question itself, right? But do you want to add on to this and give us more insights on how we can bridge the gap?
Yes. So I have only few points to say. First thing, almost in India, we see almost 80 to 90 lakhs people coming to workforce every year, right? And how many people are employable from those? Maybe around 10%, 15%, right? The number is not more than that, right? Also, there is a second side to it. Is there is a lack of demand? No. So there is a gap. What is the gap? The gap is the people who are coming out of colleges or the people who are working on the conventional streams, right? They don't know what is the industry need, right? And here the industry can play. They can bridge the gap between what is the industry demand, what is the industry skill, what are the roles where people are needed, and what the colleges and the schools are producing in the India, right? So what we need is we need to fill this gap. So industry can play 2-3 things in my opinion. The first thing is industry can tell educational institute, the colleges, what is the current demand is, what is the current trend is, where you want. Like we are all talking about AI. AI did not come suddenly, right? You would have seen that there is a demand, there is a paradigm shift happening towards AI, and we have to be ready for that, right? So this, we have to make sure that our coming generation, the new students who are coming out of colleges are ready for that. So this industry can play. If the participation happening from colleges and the industry, this gap will be filled, first thing. Second thing, industry can also train those people, like what we do. We onboard people for internship for 6 months, right? We do for almost, let's say, 40-50 people in a year. But if we do for a larger scale, this can definitely make a change, right? So we can train people for the industry-ready technologies. And the third thing is, in some cases, industry can also provide infrastructure and money as well. Somebody who want to develop and build something from their own. So I think these are the 2-3 cases where industry can definitely play a role to bridge this gap.
Just add one point over here, which was I just forgot to mention one thing. We are always focused into the metro cities, right? We think the best of the best capabilities are lying over there. The opportunities are sitting in the metro city. What about to the urban areas or the rural areas, right, of our nation? I think the most of the people are not staying in metro city India, right? If we go in terms of the knowledge, there are a lot of good resources, a lot of good students are coming out from the rural areas. How we can impart, because now the industries are also moving from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3 cities. Whether we have a circle of influence by the institutions in those cities or not. Have we done that assessment? If we look, there are very few areas where in the tier 2 or tier 3 cities, say we are building up and the cost of living is pretty low. The resources are very well connected they don't have to come, if someone is staying in Dharwad, they don't have to come to Bangalore to get a job. If we can set up something over there, and industries are doing there. So equally, when the industries are going to that side of the cover page, why can't the institution look in terms of expanding their workforce and set up some institutions out there? The similar kind of, or maybe a distant learning, the virtual learning I'll say both in a cloud-based model that can be in a distant learning is working well today. Because in Bangalore, if some students has to travel, say for example, if someone is traveling from Hosur side to the city coming out, they will take around 2 hours for a travel time, right, every day. The students, their productivity will get lost. Can we look for some hybrid model I'm just appealing to the institutions. There are a lot of educators, the head of the institutions are here. Can we look in some of the collaborative things? Because today, during the pandemic, we have learned a lot. We have delivered, I think, I'm not coining my numbers of my organization, but the maximum projects which we have delivered during the pandemic time only, sitting out of India. And our leadership is shocked. And the client is also working, right? We can look for those kind of possibilities to upskill, reskill, and rebuild the things. Because we have a legacy of doing a lot of things, but now we are moving forward. We have to think beyond. The only request or submission to the educators will be, let's think beyond and understand the demand and try to fulfill the demand.
Thank you, sir. Srikanth sir, how are you implementing this in HomeLane or planning to make it better in HomeLane or any other companies where you are involved with?
Yeah, so let me just first quickly, I just want to make one point on the previous question. I want to pick up on what Ram said, very interesting, right? I mean, he started working when there was no, probably we had like landlines and rarely at that and where we are now. So what has changed in that 30, 40 years, right? If you see, significant change has happened in one area, which is access to information. At that time, access to information was to a privileged few, and you go to a better college, you get access to better information. You go to not so good college, you get access to next level information, and so on and so forth. Today, I think we all agree that that has become completely democratized. That train has left the station 10 years ago. Once we have a phone in our hand and data, we are done with that. So the only thing, my big point is, we are going to have the reverse problem. We already have the reverse problem, which is what? Access to too much information. You can Google today, it will confuse the hell out of you, right? I mean, you don't know which one is true and which one is not true. So now we have to solve for the other problem now, which is, how do you sift through that information? I think the primary, in principle at least, the primary responsibility of providing information from educators has gone away, I would say. I'm saying in the past tense. I think it doesn't exist anymore. It is actually the ability to look through and decide on what is right for them and what is important and what is required for them to take a decision. This can be for anything. It can be for skill. I mean, if you want to be a carpenter, taking my HomeLane, this one, I can today learn hundreds of YouTube, thousands, millions of YouTube videos. I don't need, as long as I have the interest and the skill, I can. So access is there. Now, what do I need to look at for my requirement, I'm going for a job to HomeLane, what do I need to know, that is the only thing that the educators need to do. And that's also what we are trying to do, be it our own learning and development within HomeLane, or we are trying not to teach them basic stuff, because that is already available, and in fact, I challenge that too much of it is available. We are trying to teach them how do I look at what is relevant for me, and how do I have the skill to have the critical thinking ability to decide on what is the right thing for me at this stage, at my career stage, at my skill stage, for the job that I want, etc., etc. And that is at a principal level what we are trying to do, irrespective of whether you are a engineering head, or I'm talking about technology engineering head, or whether you are a carpenter. It's broadly the same. It can be, semantics may be different, but broadly it's the same.
Ram sir, considering now you guide so many entrepreneurs, so now so what is that one thing what you always tell, right? How do you get the best workforce from the institutions, right? So how do that gap can be bridged and the entrepreneurs get the best of the workforce and grow on that?
I think I've been working in this for the last 25 years through various industry bodies like ASSOCHAM, CII, etc. of this academia industry gap. I think it's a little bit like the chicken and egg. What came first? Did the chicken come first or the egg come first? I mean, it depends on what you want. You want an omelette? Then fine. I think this whole business of academia and industry gap, academia blames industry, industry blames academia. So both have conveniently started blaming each other. But in the process, the person who suffers the most is the student. Okay? We can keep, if I'm part of an academic group, I can keep saying how bad industry is. They don't give us projects, they don't do this, they don't take interns, they're like this, they're like that. If I'm part of industry, like Rudra said, I can keep saying, you guys are not producing employable, ready people. And this debate will keep going on. Okay? I think I have a more fundamental question. And I'd really like all of you to introspect, because I started my life in academics, then I went into industry, I went back, and I've come back now as a consultant. How ready are your people to join industry? Okay? How many of your PhDs will actually get a job in a HomeLane? And this is something that we need to really look at. And I'm not being frivolous right now. Has academia gone to such an extent that the projects that they're doing, the research that they're doing, is really, really ivory tower research? Or is it... The guy there has decided I must be... All right. No, I promise you I won't be any more provocative. So I think, we need to be very clear about this one problem. How ready are our working in the academic world? Employable are they in industry? Okay? And the other way around too. How many people who are now working in industry, whether they're heading marketing or they're heading technical or they're heading technology, how ready are they to go through the academic rigor that is required to actually go and run a course? It's very, very difficult. So I seriously believe that, if you can take this lead here and say for an experiment, Rudra, if you can figure out some way of taking 20 people from the academic world and employing them in IBM for one year and getting 20 of your guys to go and teach, I think then... No, 1 minute, let me finish. Yeah. I think that... I know IBM is doing something in that. You don't have to reply to that. My point is, only then will this whole gap get addressed. I don't think reality is sinking in. And that to me is the biggest challenge today in terms of this academia and industry gap. Okay? How many of our... I'm serious. I keep asking my customers, my clients, how many of you are ready to go and work in an academic institution? Run 1 year program. Don't give guest lectures. Guest lectures are easy, right? I can go and dance in front of the audience and I'll get a fantastic rating from all the students. I'll show some of the old films that I did in advertising. And the audience will go, wow, you did Santur, you did Sundrop, you did Hero Honda. And they'll say, wow, that's the easy part. I'd really like to see how some of us can go and run a 1 year course and get kids to pass exams. That's the challenge.
I'll just add one thing what Ram sir has said, right? So as a part of the program that we are running, I'm just talking from the IBM perspective now, wearing the hat. I don't want to do that. I thought I'll be sharing only my perspective over here. So yes, as I said, our students are industry ready, right? So that's where we did a lot of research before we went into this kind of understanding. We understood the industry dynamics as well as I said, the supply-demand pattern. So we understood the supply-demand pattern, and based on the areas, we identified the opportunities where actually we are seeding our employees to go and impart the training. And that, as a part of the certification process, we are now putting that into the semester marks as a part of the CGPA assessment. So we were looking a little beyond, because we were thinking how the workforce should be in the next few decades. Keeping that in mind, we are trying to understand if we are structuring the course, we are helping them in terms of imparting the trainings, getting onboarded into the processes, having a quick connect with not only the industry that we belongs to, it is across the industries. So we are having lot of materials. Say for example, if the workforce which is coming to us is not from a traditional mechanical engineer or electrical or a metallurgist. I being a metallurgist, I can talk through that. So I've served in the steel plants, right? I've worked before joining to IBM. I was working with Mittal Steel, which is ArcelorMittal. And steel I prefer, if I don't get the smell of steel, what the the chemical reactions are happening, if I don't get the smell of furnace, I cannot assess whether my steel is good or not. So people used to say, you are a good steel maker. I used to say, no, I am a good slag maker. If I can make the slag better, so I am removing the impurities out of the process and getting a good product. That's what the institution should try to understand, what are the impurities, how that can be drained out, and those wow factors should come out, right? Instead of putting that 50 lakhs is the CTC of my institution for this year, we should say this many industry projects that my institution has done, this many industry connects that I have with my institution. And one more thing, the Alumni Connect. I strongly believe that the Alumni Connect is a powerful weapon for any institution. Believe me or not, because if you are inviting an alumni to teach for an year, and that's the program, I being an alumnus of Harvard University, I can feel that what my institution is asking me to go back and stay for an year or so, impart the training to the new batches. And if the institution is ready to pay them, why can't we do those kind of models? Because they are coming from the industry, they have been into your institution, they know the professor, they know the environment, the bonding, and they will help you to place your people. So please look onto those kind of models if that is feasible and possible.
Thank you, sir. This is considering that we are running short of time. So let me get 1 minute quick responses from each of you. So in case if you have, considering that we already spoke about AI in the last panel, right? So AI is going to take over the world. What are the other skills what the educators or the students can look at, which you think will rule for next 2 decades? Srikanth sir, if we can start from you, please.
Yeah, I think I spoke about this already, but at the cost of repeating myself, I think it will be the ability to distinguish between good and bad information or relevant and not relevant information in a very simple, in very simple English. I think that is what is going to be the single biggest thing, irrespective of whatever vertical we are talking about, whether it's science, arts, commerce, whatever, it does not matter. I think information is going to be in excess, too much in excess. And that is a problem which we are going to face. Educators need to solve that problem. That's really what I think.
Ram sir?
Yeah, just to add to what Srikanth was saying, there are 4 stages, according to me, Srikanth. The first is data. As you said, we were a data-hungry country. We didn't have data, I mean, I still remember those good old days when somebody went and met somebody, the stock market either crashed or it went up. That was the kind of stuff that we did it. When you organize data, it becomes information. When you process that information, it becomes knowledge. I think we need to teach people how to process knowledge, how to process that information into knowledge. And when you apply that knowledge, only and only then will it become wisdom. So to answer your question, Anushrut, I think what we need is we need people who are going to be wisdom workers, because that is really, really the important thing going forward. I think we need wisdom workers who are absolutely fearless, who have abhayam as part of their life, completely fearless. I mean, they should not have any fear in life. That is really, really what will work. Rudra?
I think the quick one, we were the part of the transformation of the change, right? And we need to be adaptable and to be a change manager or a change agent, first of all. The students has to be a change agent because we are going to lead the change from the front. That's what. Because as I said, technology has always been an enabler or a catalyst. And it will change, right? Over a period of time, we were talking about the IoT for a few years. Then we moved to AI. Now we'll move to Gen AI. Now we'll move to quantum. What not, right? It is not going to, because that's an evolution. Now, if I am not able to adapt those changes, how can I lead the change? How can I lead the transformation? That's the first thing we need to learn. How can be adaptable? And we have seen a lot of things. I always believe into 2x2. I always believe in 2x2 metrics in terms of, I'll go to the quadrant which is easy to implement with, I'm going to say, in terms of whatever it is. I don't have to break my mind, right? I don't have to think through it, which is easy to implement and I will get a maximum benefit. Let us focus on those areas instead of struggling for other things. So that's the only one thing I just wanted to add, because it will go on. The education system with the help of government, and I think the skills build program for the government of India and Vikshit Bharat program, we are going to that level of understanding, to be honest, because I was talking to many institutions on those, how that can be as a part of their entire curriculum or the we are bringing up.
Vimal sir, your view, what skills do you think will rule the next 2 decades, and how that will, which will help the 2047 vision of the Prime Minister?
Yes. So I think we should focus more on the foundational thing. Because the technology is changing every day, as Ram sir has said, that we can't predict what will happen tomorrow or what the shape of the technology will be next 5 years, right? So what the person who is studying today, what they should do, right? They should focus more on foundational thing. Like, I'll just give one example. 5 years back in India, who can think there will be a job of blockchain forensic investigator, right? But we do have that at CoinSwitch. We are a blockchain-based exchange, right? But we do have that. And these kind of things will increase over the time, because as the adoption of new technology will increase, the new avenues will be created and the new jobs will come. But we can't predict about it today. So what should we do? We should focus more on foundational thing. Foundational thing, as of today, what we are doing, we are teaching our students language. We are teaching our students maths. Why we are teaching? Because we know that math is the fundamental for computation and calculation. They will take decisions. Language is fundamental of communication and collaboration, right? Now let's talk what will be the next step for this. The next step for this would be critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. If we are able to teach our students, they can reshape even the technology changes in the future, right? Suppose somebody is working on something today if that changes, nobody was working on AI 2 years back. Now everybody is talking about AI. How people will adopt the AI, because they have to unlearn what they were doing earlier. But how they can, because they know they are a problem solver. If any problem is given to them, they can adapt themselves, or they can figure out a solution. But we need to teach those people. Also, I don't know how many schools have introduced courses on blockchain and AI, but it's a very, very fundamental thing, and we should start focusing more the way we are focusing on language, the way we are focusing on fundamentals of science and the mathematics. We should definitely start focusing on these things as well.
I just wanted to add one thing. Like, there is no scarcity of the capability and the skills that Indian students are having today. First of all, because we, the Indian students, are always on demand. It is the capability that we have demonstrated, or the skills and the credibility that we have earned. So now the companies are, we should understand how to be sustainable in the model of having or holding our students back in India, because the companies are coming to India for the support, right? The entire world is looking for the Indian resources. If I go by, I am not throwing some of the statistics number over here, but I can say that we are much, much ahead of anyone in this world. So Europeans are gone, to be honest. I'm proud to be an Indian always, and I believe that here we are born to be an Indian, and we can contribute more if we can get our Indian workforce, which is working outside of India and coming back to the country and developing those kind of things. And that is where the institution need to do through their alumni connects, to be precise. So please focus on your alumni connects to get the resources back to India.
Thank you, sir. I'm just opening it for audience in case if you have any questions. If you can keep it short, please. Does anyone have a question? Amuk? Yes, Nitin sir, please go ahead. Amuk?
More than a question, it's a comment. I have typically seen this discussion always taking place with regard to industry versus academia and whose role is where. I see one of the intersections which is very good, which we need to explore, is where industry designs the assignments for academia and then evaluates those assignments, because then everything else can get dictated through that. Because industry really does not have the time to go and teach a full course or a year, like you mentioned. And typically that's not only the time, but it needs a certain kind of an orientation. But assignments is where the application finally comes in. So if they can, for every course, from core to the specialization courses, if industry can collaborate with academia, design those assignments, and then at the end of the course, evaluate those assignments, slowly you will start realizing that curriculums will get aligned, and eventually the products, which are the students, will get aligned a lot more. So I think this is one
that's
direction in which we
trying
have
to
been thinking
establish
about.
now.
Yeah.
And if the academia can put that into part of their CGPA assessment, right?
Absolutely.
So it has to be not only what industry is giving back, it has to be in terms of the capacity of the absorbent part. If I can't, as I said, I always believe in the 2x2. If I can do the adaptability of it, if it is easy to implement, let's do it. Let's not roam around doing a lot of research. As I said, that data, it is full of data, right? You need to understand what is the data source that you are having, what is the right data models that you are building up. The data collection is also an art, right? So we have to be very precise in terms of what can be implementable.
Correct. So those assignments are in a correlation with the course which is being taught. Yeah.
Thank you, Nitin sir. One more question. Yes, Amiya sir, I can't see any hands up. Okay.
See, industry is generalized. I mean, it cannot be tailor-made. Education, we have to be specific. We have to be give this one. Industry, how can it be made tailor-made to every industry.
So this question is for whom?
No, anyone.
Ram sir, if you can please take this.
So as I understand your question, sir, you're saying how can the entire academic process be tailor-made to suit a particular industry? Is that what you're asking, sir? Both the ways. It can cut. All right. First of all, let me tell you how it can be done. I think it's very, very, very simple and easy to do, quite honestly. All that you need to do is to make sure that whatever are the live projects that are being worked right now in a particular department, whether it is engineering or management school or arts or science or commerce or whichever field that you're talking about, I think it's extremely important to focus on one aspect. Why are we doing this? Because if we don't get that right as to why we are doing it, then what we will go through is what is happening right now, sir. The entire internship program, quite honestly, at this point of time is a colossal failure. Because we are only doing it so that they get those grades, and it's a failure on both sides. Even in industry, there is I'm working now with about 250, 300 companies. Let me tell you that it's a lot of lip service. There's no seriousness from industry on making sure that intern does what that intern needs to be doing. When I interned with Crompton Greaves way back in 1982, my internship was 6 months. 6 months. And I had to, at the end, every month, I had to go back to the HR department and give them a detailed report of what I've been doing. Now that is internship. I think today it's become, I've heard some people are saying 30-day internship, 45-day internship because academics are late, something is going. I think this whole thing has gone completely wrong, sir. I think we need to make sure that we need to focus on why we're doing what we're doing. Because, to go back to this particular theme that we've got, there is no doubt about the fact that India at 2047 is going to be perhaps the third or the second largest economy in the world, sir. Whether I like it, whether I don't like it, it's going to happen. The issue is, how is it going to happen? All of us from industry and academia, and I congratulate the organizers for bringing this subject to the fore, if all of us can seriously sit and figure out why are we doing what we are doing, then every other obstacle, challenge will fall by the wayside. I think that's the important point.
Thank you, sir. The next question, please. If someone who wants to ask. I think Aishwarya was supposed to ask the question. Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, thank you for this valuable interaction that you've given us today evening. My question is, we spoke a lot about building curiosity in children. We spoke about how industry and institutions need to collaborate in order to make impactful changes in the workforce, right? And I believe a good institution is by having good quality faculty. We are always looking at endpoints of students and endpoints as, industries. But what about the catalysts who are actually training and making these endpoints happen? Can there be a way where the industry can help us train and help our faculty to develop better? Because I think that's the biggest gap that we have right now. Because every day, I'm sure there are a lot of professors sitting here. We are all caught up in our own ways. We don't know how to build curiosity in children. So if you can help us, I think one teacher can help 100 students.
So I'll just take this up, right, in terms of building up the faculties. So I don't want to name the organization that I belongs to, but not being a privileged one. But I can say there are many organizations who is going back to institution stating that we will develop your faculty, because what the training that we are imparting to the students as a part of the program, so that is for students going on, right? Because we are not going to handhold them for a long term. Who is going to handhold them for a long term is the faculty, because we are just nurturing and giving the dimension where they need to be. Now, as a part of the program, we were training the faculties. Also, what we are trying to do, say for example, I belongs to certain institution as an alumnus. My organization is saying, go to that institution, because you have a great connect with your alma mater, and be the faculty or an adjunct faculty or a guest faculty, whatever it is, continue for 1 year. I am giving you the liberty to work with them, train them on the industry dynamics and the requirement. It is, I'll tell you how we are working. I'm a hardcore supply chain consultant, okay? So I prefer to talk on supply chain language. That's where I started with supply demand. So in terms of what we are doing, we were creating a make to stock situations. Institutions are producing, we are building up our stock of the students, right? And they are getting aged because they are not getting right placement, right things to set up for them. Why? Have you asked the question to the institution, why we are doing an MTS model? Why it is not an MTO, make to order kind of model?
Rudra, sorry to interrupt you. I think the question that you asked is a valid question. There is a very interesting program that we run called Are You Future Ready?
Okay.
And this is a program that is only for faculty. Okay? Where we get together industry leaders like a Srikanth, okay? Like a Vimal, we put together a group of people and we do an intense 2 to 3 day brainstorming in institutions for the entire faculty. I completely agree with you that in all of this, between industry and student, the faculty is forgotten. We run a very, very interesting program called Are You Future Ready? And this program keeps getting upgraded every year. We bring in the alumni of the institution to come and talk to you. It's a 3 day program. I'd love to meet up with you and share with you how we can help you on that.
Definitely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So it was lovely having you all here and discussing about the workforce of tomorrow and Vision 2047. Thanks a lot, and I'm pretty sure the educators in the audience have learnt a lot from it. So everyone will be here. They will be hanging out in the networking dinner. So you can please talk to them, share your thoughts, discuss, and of course, Vimal sir and Srikanth sir already told that they are ready to collaborate with the institutions, and it's a live platform where you can get this going. Right. So thanks a lot.